In this video, we're going to actually make a program that actually does some kind of math. It's the average. We're going to take the average of some numbers. And the way you start is, as always, go to the bottom, double-click on the terminal icon, up comes the terminal, and then you cd space desktop, and then cd space C code, and we're off and running. I put a new command in here called open space dot. That means open up the current directory you're in Finder, and up it comes. That's a nice little feature too. That's just a little add-on to teach you some Mac terminal commands. The next thing we want to do is we want to make a new project with the template that with the project script that we made in just the last video. And so we do /makeproject.sh space average for a program that makes the average. If you go into the average folder from the Finder there, you can open up that folder and then double click on average.c, and it should come up in Xcode. This program is going to take the average of 3 numbers. I know it's a humble beginnings, but we're going to get really big really quick, and we're going to understand a lot of stuff super fast. So it's going to be a whirlwind, but we're starting out really small here, just taking the average of 3 numbers. You could do that on a calculator, I know. With all math programs that do calculations and stuff, we need to store numbers. We need actual numerical values, and we need variables to store those numbers, just like in algebra, x equals 5, that kind of thing. An analogy in an Excel spreadsheet is we need cells. We need cells to store values of numbers. That's really what we need. And so a good analogy, if you're familiar with Excel, is we need different cells. And with C, you have to define the names of those cells. And so, and you also have to define what kind of cell they are. So we define numbers that we're going to do math with as floats. Float is a floating point number as opposed to an integer, a counting number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is an integer. 3.14159 is a floating point number. 3.0 is a floating point number as well. So first we have to declare A, B, and C as floats. And then we need a new variable. We need a variable average to store the average value of those 3 numbers. Then we have to give those values, A, B, and C, their values. And so the variable goes on the left-hand side of the equal sign, and the value which you're assigning it goes on the right-hand side of the equal sign. That's a convention throughout programming, basically. And then you need the average equation. You need the equation for average. So average, AVG, equals, and then in parentheses, A plus B plus C, all divided by 3. So, and that's how you calculate the average of 3 numbers. This is like the Captain Obvious video for the math part. So we've done it, that the program will have done it, but we need to give feedback to the user as to what actually the average is. For that, you need a printf statement. All we've done with printf statements is print out strings, hello world, that's it. Now we're going to actually print out the contents of a variable. And the way to do that is with a % character. So %f means put whatever is in this floating point variable, put that into my printf statement. So you can see the average is %f, and then a \n is new line. And then comma, it's a comma after the first argument of the printf statement in double quotes. Then you give the variable which you want the value of the %f, where you want the value of which to be in that %f spot, that placeholder spot in your printf statement. So that's how you print values, floating point values, out into the real world from your program. So we go back into, so we do that, we save it. So you make sure that you save your average.c file so that the edited part goes away. And then we go back into the terminal, we cd into average, cd space average, and then we compile it. GCC space average.c space dash lowercase o space average. No C at the end of that. Press enter if you didn't make any mistakes copying that program that I gave you, then it'll just come up with a new prompt there, and type in ./average, and lo and behold, it says the average is, and then the average of 3, 5, and 8. The three numbers I said is 5 1/3, and so it's the 5.333 as it represents it as a floating point number. That's it. It turns out, even though this was a really easy program, we actually have learned a lot. We've learned about variables, and we've learned mostly about what kinds of variables, floating point variables, and we've learned how to interact with the outside world through the printf statement with floating point variables. So there's are three really important lessons that we're going to use over and over and over again in this series.